Hi everybody, it's crazy, it's Monday, and it's time for the UPBGE video of the week. Now before I get started, gotta give a shout out to my trusted because you guys rock. To my crazy fam, I love you guys. Now, we're up to episode number 77, and last week we left off with Specular. It's page number 15, it's just a little bit below the top. We had last week, if I switch over here, we were talking about changing material colors and how the preview panel works, how you set them up, and we did diffuse, and now we're on to Specular. Okay, so let's get started. Specular is the hard or glossy reflected component of a surface. It is viewing angle dependent, as the camera, object, or light move relative to each other. The specular highlight appears to move along the surface. With the color selector, you can change the color of the specular highlight. Okay, that's this one right here, same thing. Okay. Most materials, plastic, wood, glass, have a white specular highlight. The only common material that can physically have a colored specular highlight is colored metal, such as gold and copper. You can make it gold, or you can make it copper, which is more of a bluish tin. Okay. Let's see, what was that? Okay, the only common material that can physically have, okay, I just read that. Let's see. Alright, so I'm going to switch over to here real quick. So these three right here show different specularity. Okay, this is just a 50% specularity, 100% specularity, and 100% specularity with a tuned shade to it. So as you see, with this full specularity, you got the shine on it. With 50%, you don't really have a shine, but you have a little bit of a glow. Okay, so let's switch back over to there. So with that specular, as you see, if you look at Susie's eyes, if I take that down to 0, you'll notice that it becomes like a matte looking color. And if I bring it all the way up to 1, it's really, really glossy. And if I switch it from color tour to tune, it looks more like a cartoon. And you can take the intensity down to where it's not so bright, and you can change the size from 0.5 to, to like that. You can change it, all these, and we're going to go over some of these, I believe, but maybe not in a tune, but we're going to go over all these. Okay, but most of the time it's just set to cook. All right, so intensity controls how bright the specular highlight is, while harness controls, which is harness right here, okay, controls the size of the specular hot spot. Okay, so if you take it from 50 and you bring it down, you notice that it becomes brighter and whiter, and becomes, if you do it that way, it becomes almost illuminated. Okay, but the more you bring it up to 50, the more and the higher you go, the less that dot gets. Okay, so let's put it back to, let's see if we can put, usually you can reset to default value, which wasn't that, it was 55. Okay, but when you're messing with the hardness, you're going to be adding more of it. Okay, a high hardness value is useful for shiny material such as hard plastic or glass. A low hardness value is useful for matte objects such as rough plastic or plants. For surfaces with almost no visible specular components such as dried brick walls, dirt, or carpet, you can even disable specular entirely by setting the intensity to 0. If you set the intensity to 0, it gives you that matte look, like I was saying. Okay. This can improve the performance of the game slightly. Not greatly, but slightly. Just like diffuse, there are different algorithms to achieve different looking specular highlights. Now let's see, it's right here. And we got Ward ISO can be used to create very tiny specular highlights, and tune, okay, which was the one I showed you. Okay, we got Walder, which is that. Let's bring up the specularity a bit. There we go. Okay, gives you that. Alright, and tune is used for creating that sharp fall off often desired in a cartoon. Okay? And you can have size and smoothness and all that. You know, it gives you those eyes that everybody likes. Okay. Cooktour, which is the one that it defaults to, is the default algorithm. But Phong, which is this one, is another popular choice. Okay? Now, it just has the same as Cook does, but there's probably a few differences. Yeah, just different differences. See, visually, Cook and Phong are very similar. Okay, let's go to ramp. Okay, that sits right here. On each one of these, you've got a ramp that you can pick. Okay, ramps let you add an arbitrary color gradient to the object. Its power lies in the fact that you can map a color palette onto the object in many different ways. Some common uses for the ramp shader include adding a peach fuzz to skin material and adding rim light to object for a dramatic effect. The top part of the ramp, let's go ahead and bring one up. We're going to go ahead and do just diffuse color right now because that's the one they've got it set on in the book. The top part of the ramp is used to set up the color band. Okay, that's these guys right here. Okay. See, to define a gradient, you can add or delete color stops. Each color stop has its own position, color, and alpha value. Okay, this right here is a stop. You can add one. You can even make one, take one away. And I forgot what that one's for, but we'll probably go into it in just a minute. Okay. By default, when you enable ramp, two color stops are created for you. Your first and your last. Okay. To select a particular color stop, left click on it. Okay, so you just left click on it. Oops, left. Crazy. Ugh. Okay. And I did left click on it. There we go. Left click on the color spot. Make sure you get that perfect, because if not, it won't allow it. Okay, active color stops are drawn with a dotted line. Okay, as you see, there's dotted lines. Once a color stop is selected, you can drag to change its position and alter its color and alpha values using the color selector below it. Okay, so you can bring this down, and as you notice, if you see, there's more white value to it. Now, say if I wanted to give that blue a more of a greenish tone, okay, and then I take that color amp and I bring it down, you notice that now, the more I do, the more the blue shines through. So you give it to where they're looking at like green or something, or they have a green haze. Okay? See, the bottom part of the ramp shader panel controls how the color band is mapped onto the object. Okay? Which is right here. Available inputs, input options include normal, which if I hit this, you got normal. Okay, the color band is mapped to the surface normal of the object in camera space. Thus, any surfaces perpendicular to the camera, facing the camera that is, will obtain their color from the right side of the color band, while surfaces that are parallel to the camera facing sideways will get assigned the left side of the color band. So in other words, okay, if we do normal, if you notice that now that changed, it was over here, now it's over here. Now if I take this out, you'll notice that the green comes back. Okay, and if I put that all the way over this way, the blue is mostly in. Okay, now if I, since I'm switching it back and forth, it shows different ways. Okay, so it says, thus, any surfaces, okay, I already read that. Okay. All right, so energy, if we hit energy, okay, the color band is mapped to the incident energy of all the lamps. High energy areas are mapped to the color band right and vice versa. So, since I've got it on energy and I bring this down, you notice it's getting a little bit more blue, white light in there. And I push this over. Oops. Come here, green. Green. There we go. Green. Now you see that green's starting to come back. See? There's still a white intensity there, but that green comes back in. Okay? See, shader. Let's do shader. Okay? Shader. The color band is mapped to the result of the calculated shader intensity. This option is similar to energy, except it also takes the shading model into account. Okay, so as you see, it's about the same, but it takes that model in perspective. Okay, the shading model in perspective. Now, result is the default. Okay, the color band is mapped to the final resulting material color, including all shading and texture information. Bright pixels are mapped to the right of the color band, and dark pixels are mapped to the leftmost of the band. So as you see, most of the blue is in there, but as I bring the green in, let's see if I can grab it. You'll see the green slowly come in, you know, so you can give it just a little bit of green hue. Okay, and as you see, Susie's eyes are still blue, but it has that greenish tint. You know, say you wanted to have more of a silvery tint to her eyes. You know, you can actually put like a light blue in there and bring it up higher. She's got more of a metallic look. Okay, you know, if you wanted her to have gold looking eyes, you know, like she's got gold in her eyes. Ooh, you know, she's got gold, you know, eyes of gold. Okay, you can do a lot of changes with that. Okay. The blend option, which is this right here, okay, controls how the color band colors are mixed with the existing color. Not unlike the layer blending option in a 2D image manipulation software such as Photoshop, these blending methods frequently appear in Blender, so you should be familiar with them. Okay, you got mix, okay, add, multiply, all these different ones. I'm not going to go through every one of them, but I'm going to read them off because they're kind of important. Okay, mix uses a combination of both inputs. Excuse me a second. Needed a drink. Okay, a factor of 0.5 means each input contributes exactly half towards the final color. A factor of 1 means that one of the inputs completely dominates the other. So if I put these at halfway, say 0.5, okay, there we go, okay, that would be the 50 and 50 mark is what it will do. Okay, it's going to do half blue and it's going to do half green. All right, add. The two input colors are, let's see, how far are we up to? Yeah, we're up to 13 minutes. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to go to about, I'm going to go up to subtract, and that's where I'm going to stop at. Okay. The two input colors are numerically added together, often resulting in a brighter image. So if you hit add, it adds them. Ooh. Okay, it adds as it goes. Multiply. The two input colors are numerically multiplied together, often resulting in a darker image. So if we did multiply, you notice that the blue is really, really dark. And I lighten it up. See what I'm saying? It actually makes it darker because it's multiplying the yellow. Okay? As you see, almost black eyes. Okay? Subtract. one input is subtracted from the other, sometimes resulting in a darker image and sometimes resulting in a negative image where the colors are inverted. Okay, so I'm going to put them back over here, and then we're going to go to subtract. Okay, now if I subtract these, oops, there we go. If you notice, it goes to like more of a matte color. Now I'm going to do it this way. It does absolutely nothing. There we go. Okay, so it's either one or the other. It'll do one or the other and subtracts away from it. Okay. Both diffuse and specular channels can have their own ramp. While the diffuse ramp shader can be visible on the entire object, the ramp for specular is only visible in the region where specular highlights are visible. Other than that, the ramp shader panel for specular is exactly the same as the ramp shader panel for diffuse shader. Okay, so that's where I'm going to end it. We're going to end at page 17. We're going to start with shading next week. Okay, so now you got basically an idea of the diffuse color and the specular color and both the color ramps, you know, if you want to use them. Next week, we're going to go into shading. Okay, so let me switch on over to here. We're ending on page 17. Okay, it's about, I think it's halfway down the page. Yeah, it's about halfway down the page. So if you're following along in the book, all you have to do is scroll on down to that. You can continue forward if you'd like. If not, you can come back next week and we'll go through it again. We're going to go through this part of it. We'll end off with shading, and happy blending. See you next week.